lived on Gabriola for 40 years. We were part of the hippie Back to the Land movement. Life was a big learning curve. My husband, we built our own house, we raised a garden, planted food trees, studied nutrition, especially diet for a new planet, like Francis North Bay. We've raised 4 children. I'm sort of your classic Earth mother. When the youngest was 9, I went to work at a wonderful health food store in Nanaimo where I met Dirk Becker when he was a rebel without a cause. And in recent years, a bunch of us get together as old foodies. We kind of call ourselves old foodies. We're kind of a bunch of us my age. To call ourselves Gabriolas for local food choices. Our earliest victory was to stand firm against being able to use and sell local eggs at farmers markets. Believe it or not, VIHA had a hard time with that. And it was a whole issue. As I became more passionate about local food issue, I co-organized annual food forums in the early spring before planting season. I've shown many movies about food, local food, global food, and was commissioned to report to VIHA about food production on Gabriola. I read the 2006 bestseller, and I'm almost done with this because this is important. It really influenced me. Michael Pollan's The Omnivore's Dilemma. Probably influenced a lot of other people here, which speaks of political, economic, psychological, and moral implications of our food choices. It inspired me to become an independent researcher, so I use the initials. I'd like to use the initials IR, independent researcher, and to write about food. And some of you may know me from the articles. And by the way, I was going to bring the magazines up. These last 2 are the last issues that they are publishing of Synergy. Dirk calls them collector's items. In both of these, I get to write about. I've been writing about food, and I write about GMOs in both of them. This one has the interview with Dr. Tsiporah Grignon, who spoke today. But this is actually it's really good because it's condensed from when we went to talk with him for an hour and a half interview. And in here, I talk about learn who to trust. So this is an idea today. I'd like to start off by saying we all eat for a living. It's an idea, it's a simple idea, it has great potential. It's basically about using arable land to grow food. It's also about helping society evolve, to share resources. Even though it's not a new idea, I believe it deserves to be part of our local food strategy. If we're inspired by this idea, any of us can play a part in increasing production of local food without actually being the ones to dig our hands in the dirt. So it can motivate us to take action. There's just so many reasons why we the people must not wait or even expect outside help in increasing the amount of food grown in our region. I'm not saying that government won't help, and it's wonderful to see all the things that are happening in all these, sharing farm and all, hearing about what's happening in Nanaimo and being, opening up lawns to grow food. There's no problems there. It's just that things do take much more time the bureaucratic way. This is grassroots I'm talking about here. And it's important to remember that the average age of farmers in BC is in the mid-50s somewhere, so we need to encourage the younger generation. We all can see that, to become food growers. I want to pass on, in my research online, I discovered some potent words by Farmer Bob of the Island Farmers Alliance. I highly recommend that you search out his 3 postings entitled The Decline of Farming on Vancouver Island. It'll help you understand the situation that an established farmer is in. Farmer Bob. Therefore, we're going to focus on increasing our food production on Vancouver Island, which includes, of course, the Gulf Islands, where there is a strong focus on organic gardens. I believe that some of us are suited to do the grassroots work needed to help increase local food production by actively promoting this idea. So this is the philosophy. It is and why we need to do this. It is a fact that much land on the Big Island and Gulf Islands was purchased many years ago when it was a lot lower in price. My partner and I are an example. We left Toronto in 1973 with a strong intention to find a beautiful place to live on the West Coast. Our timing was good because land was affordable to young people in their 20s. And we're still there 40 years later on our 1 acre. So going back to these other properties, some of these properties purchased years ago might qualify as excellent arable land for growing food with plenty of soil, good sunshine, enough water. It is also a fact that there are young people who would very much like to grow food who cannot afford to buy land in this part of the world at today's prices. I mean, we know this, it's a fact. So our question becomes, how do we connect those with arable land that is not being used to grow food, with those who want to do the work of growing food but who have no land? On Gabriola, where I live, this option is being done with great success. There's one specific incident or scenario. It's a generous landowner has leased some of his highly desirable agricultural land to two young farmer families. They have babies, little guys. This garden is a beautiful sight to behold, and the joy of these young people is absolutely palpable. And it's just a win-win situation all around. So where we come into this picture is to become committed to making this kind of arrangement happen more and more. In the 1920s and 30s, Vancouver Island was a major food producer and had enough to export. Today, less than 5% of food consumed on Vancouver Island is produced here. And we are totally dependent on BC ferries to bring us food, other than what we grow. Last year, I remember seeing several empty shelves in the produce department because there had been a storm the night before and one ferry didn't make it, and that was only one ferry. And 1/3 of our produce department was gone. So anyone at this conference is aware of the need to increase local food production. But we may also be painfully aware that many eaters pay little attention to such facts of life, and that to these folks, food still comes from the store. There also seems to be too much trust that our food is all safe to eat, but that's another story, and that's why I urge you to take these magazines. So, back to becoming proactive. It would be nice to think that if a real food crisis happened today, we'd all understand what we would need to do. While I am an innate optimist, I hear Farmer Bob, and the pragmatist in me says we really cannot afford to wait until that time. It is time now to reclaim land for growing food, whole, uncontaminated food. People in cities are tearing up their lawns, flower gardens, planting food. They're also planting in empty lots, and that's called guerrilla gardening. And that's great. It does have the risk of being vandalized. And another important point is that it's important to understand that anyone desiring to grow food does not need a lot of land or expensive machinery. If you ever saw that movie called Homegrown a few years ago about a family in Pasadena, California, they grew 6,000 pounds of produce from 1/4 of an acre. That's bizarre. Okay, we don't have California's climate, but the point of this story is that we can still continue to plant in succession after one crop is done. So instead of relying on aging farmers, it is logical that we need to encourage the younger generation who want to grow food. It would also be great to get a few school teachers turned on to this, who are willing to encourage food production as a valuable and needed vocation, and to create small gardens on the school grounds. I believe it is time to bring dignity back to the vocation of farming. There's something so very basic about this idea that it hardly seems revolutionary. However, society and our age of individualism is not set up to be cooperative. If we are lucky enough to have some property and we have come to expect that that property is ours to do with as we please. That's just the way we want to see things. But when we think about it on that more cosmic level, we humans are just passing through. It is up to us to take care of the land for future generations. So for this idea to manifest, the key for all involved is the basic intention of sharing of resources for the collective good. So how do we do this? Well, first, any of us, if we live in a kind of a suburban area or wherever we are, we observe the land in our neighborhood or region where food could be grown. Then, if we know the person, it's easier, but we kind of summon up our courage to speak to the property owner. And this, I'm using the royal we now, but this will become a group of people who decide that they would like to do this. Could be 2 or 3 people, it might be nice in any region. So speak to the property owner, ask how they feel about it, and that there are others who would love the opportunity to grow food. We explain that each situation is unique, and therefore so are agreements. It is important to appreciate that no formal rules there are no formal rules to doing this, but we have codes of behavior such as integrity and trust, and those should be mutually appreciated and valued, as well as common sense. So finding the participants requires commitment to search for them, and there are many ways. For the young people are great on Facebook, posters, Craigslist, approach other growers to see who works on their farm, and maybe it's only part-time, and maybe they'd love to do a full-time thing by working somewhere else. And here's the thing where we all come in now at this time of the year. Talk about it at local events or make an announcement if you're so inclined. And we're approaching the very social holiday season of many gatherings of friends and family, and it is a perfect time to spread this idea. After all, it's just an idea, and it only takes, if one person acts on the idea, then it's a success. It's just an idea that needs to be spread. And this is, of course, this time of year is several months before the planting season, so it's a good time to talk about it. It's all grassroots activism, and it doesn't happen by itself. But by spreading this idea, it can attract both wannabe growers and those with the land. So let's take a look at the most likely scenario for this to happen. The property owner is an elder. He or she may have lived on this property for years, feeling happily secure and enjoying their space. They may or may not be aware that the local food supply is not enough to feed everyone without VIHA berries bringing us food from California and the mainland. Most of all, they will need to care that the younger generation wants to survive and learn the practical skills of growing food. This translates as understanding that any partnership entered into is a sharing of resources, land and labor, where each party gives and receives. Communication, essential. Perhaps the person networking where the landowner and wannabe grower meet is at the meeting, or maybe because their input may be valuable, or they just want to see the process. But once it happens, it's up to them to keep it going. Practical details, of course, such as what foods are to be grown, water supply, times to water, how the food grown is to be divided up. If there's no fence, it will need to be built. The elder may be in a better position to pay for the fence, but it's possible the new grower may be able to contribute. There will always be important details. That said, any agreements made will require continuous communication, which includes the willingness to understand each other's needs. It is possible that the parties may choose to sign a written agreement, but if the intention is true, then the idea will become a reality if both parties really want it. An elder can take vicarious pleasure in the eagerness and joy of sharing his land with a keen young farmer unable to buy land at today's prices. The young farmer and his partner would be grateful for their good fortune to have connected with generous elders so they can be employed doing what is needed, such as what's happening on Gabriola. In other words, each party gains a fuller appreciation of the work and resources needed to feed people. Each party experiences fulfilling essential needs. And the more this is done, it becomes a natural and normal thing to do. And thus, the whole idea leads to social evolution, taking us beyond today's individualism and into a state of consciousness that appreciates the value of cooperative sharing of resources for the greater good. The landowner, although not the one doing the physical work, is rewarded for being willing to release control over his accustomed privacy for a greater cause. In doing so, it is possible he may experience a profound sense of what it means to give, and thus derive great satisfaction in seeing idle land be transformed into sustenance. Such compassion is revolutionary and very fitting for the times we live in. Now that's the basic idea, and if anyone would like this actually emailed to them, come up to me afterwards and I'll get your email, and I will. I just think this whole idea of social evolution, it just seems so natural that we actually use arable land instead of letting it go to waste, especially when we have a potential food crisis upon us. And not everybody can, there may not be sharing farms, or, it just seems natural. And so no talk about local food would be complete without the reminder to save seeds. And very basically, I had the privilege of seeing Dr. Vandana Shiva when she came to speak how many people were here on that, March 27th at VIHA? I know Vanessa was, and it was quite inspiring. A full house, 800 people, close to that, and 3 standing ovations. Well, she is, do you know who she is? Most people know who she is. Okay, well, the program read, she's a physicist, ecofeminist, philosopher, activist, and author who will single-handedly change the way the world thinks about environmental sustainability and food security. For many years, I have admired her seed-saving activism on her farm and an organization of Navdanya. She works to save seeds and distribute them to local farmers. And I've also been a fan of how she stands up to bullies who want to control seed, such as Monsanto. She reminds us that seeds should be in the hands of farmers. The core of her message at UVic is this: anyone can save seeds. She urged us, she said, I don't care if you have a full garden or a pot on your patio deck, learn how to save seeds. It's as simple as that. Everyone, if we grow something, everyone needs to try. It's about getting back to the land. It's about well, you'll hear this because, and perhaps her most famous quote about Monsanto and the other biotech companies is, once they have established the norm that seed can be owned as their property and royalties can be collected, we will depend on them for every seed we grow, every crop we grow. If they control seed, they control food. They know it. It's strategic. It's more powerful than bombs. It's more powerful than guns. This is the best way to control the populations of the world. So I'm going to close with her statement. This is just the last page. Her statement to those planning to march against Monsanto on October 12th, just a couple of weeks ago, in over 50 countries. And this is what she said. It's online. To all the marchers against Monsanto everywhere in the world, you're not just marching against Monsanto, you're marching because you care for life on Earth, for the biodiversity, for the seeds, for the freedom of the seed, for your own freedom to grow food with seeds that you've saved on your farm, or to eat food where you know how it is grown. Was it GMO? Was it not? Was it chemically produced? Was it not? Was it locally produced? Was it not? And these fundamental freedoms of choosing how we live, choosing what we eat, and choosing what we become, because after all we are what we eat, have become the center stage of the contest between freedom of the people and freedom of corporations like Monsanto. But Monsanto's freedom means democracy is destroyed. It means science is destroyed. I have witnessed my friends Dr. Arpad Pushtai and Dr. Seralini from France being attacked for being the best and truest scientists we can find in our times. Attacked because their science tells us the truth about GMOs. We cannot afford to destroy science. We cannot afford to destroy democracy. This is about future survival. It is not just about freedom in a superficial way. It's about freedom at the deepest level. The freedom to live. We will either have bread and freedom, or we will have neither. So let us march with all our strength against Monsanto for freedom, for life, for the future. And that's her statement. And I have one more thought, because this is a conference about food security, and just to put this thought out here, there is a difference between food security and another phrase we are hearing more and more, which is called food sovereignty. Have people here heard of the phrase food sovereignty? Well, food security is about there being enough food for we, the eaters. Food sovereignty is about maintaining our freedom to choose what we plant, where we plant, with seeds we have saved from year to year, and with respect to indigenous knowledge of the plants and the places they grow. So, let's keep in mind that, I added food sovereignty as to be part of the food charter, because basically everything they're saying over there in the food charter is really food sovereignty. So, thank you for this. I hope someone wants